Now, a function is just a space in your code where you give something a name that is an action like function start or function update, and then whatever that update behavior should actually do, that's the code you insert within the brackets after your function. And creating a function is very easy. You just type in the keyword function and then your function name. So I'm going to call my function name jump, followed by these parentheses here, and then my opening bracket, and then my closing bracket. And then now, within this jump function, I'm going to put any code associated with my jumping behavior. So maybe I'm going to get the position of an object, add to that position, etc. I created a space inside my script called jump, and then within that function jump, all of my behaviors that are responsible for jumping all go in within these brackets here. Now, the reason you create functions is because it's much easier to keep track of all of the behaviors that your game is doing. So for example, I could have a function called find gold. So how much gold do you have in your character's inventory if you're going to the store? I could have a function called lose gold. And I could have a function called damage. So whenever I get hurt in a game, this function is going to do things. It might lower my health. It might trigger blood splatter animations. It might make a sound, trigger a blade hit or strike or any other sounds. So in essence, whenever I get damaged, whatever happens can go inside this function called damage. And so all we're doing is in our script, we're giving different behaviors a name using the function keyword followed by the name of what we're going to be doing. And then we actually do it with our code inside the brackets. You can have as many functions as you want. You can even have functions inside functions. So maybe for damage, we're going to lose gold whenever we get damaged. So how can we reference this function, lose gold, inside this function called damage? Well, it's very easy. You simply type the function name and the parentheses followed by the semicolon. So lose gold. Oops. Like so. So now, every time damage is triggered, it will also trigger lose gold. And the advantage here is, let's say there are multiple points in our script, multiple events, where we're going to be triggering the same behavior. So maybe we're going to lose gold when we get damaged. We're also going to lose gold when we buy something. So function buy something. It's much easier changing our behaviors within lose gold in one spot, as opposed to having our code in both buy something and both damage. So as opposed to copying and pasting our code that does the same behavior in multiple places, we take that behavior, put it into a function, and simply call the function. So now, whenever I want to change lose gold, I simply change my code in this spot, and I don't have to care about any of these other locations because these locations reference the function itself. You can call as many functions within functions as you want. So essentially what happens is in buy something, let's say code here, and then afterwards, whoops, there we go, other code here. What happens is once function buy something is triggered, okay, it executes the code inside these brackets. So first off, we're going to have some code here, it could be anything, and then we're going to call this function called lose gold. At this point, we immediately jump to this function here, and then execute any code inside this function. Once we are done, we jump back over to this line, just past the semicolon, and then go back to the next line. So we go back to the point in which we called the function. and then we execute the rest of our code. So that's kind of how functions plug into each other. You can also give a function a value, return a value, and these things will go over into in a later video. But that is essentially the function basics. So again, a function is just a space in your code that you give a name to some behavior you want the code to do. And then you include the code to actually do the behavior inside the function.